Well, thank you for joining, and thank you, athletes, for coming on. It was pretty inspirational to watch all of you compete in Tokyo over the past couple of months. It was, I think it was amazing for Team USA across the board. So congratulations. My name is Jarrod Shoemaker, 2008 Olympian, duathlon world champion, under 23 world champion. And we have with us three members of the mixed relay silver medal winning team. Katie Ferris, who also won the individual bronze medal in Tokyo and is a world champion from 2019. Kevin McDowell, who finished 6th at the Olympics. And Taylor Knibb, who just won the Edmonton Grand Final and finished 2nd in the WTS series this past year. So really excited to have all three of you on here.
Hello, this is Aaron Scheidies. I wasn't able to be in Tokyo, but you know what is crazy is I had a much better time than I thought, and it was such exciting. It's so exciting to watch all of you guys compete, my teammates on the Paralympic side. So for those of you who don't know me, Aaron Scheidies, I'm multiple time world champion in the blind vision impaired category, and was a 2016 Rio Paralympic athlete in paracycling, as my category wasn't in the games in Rio. And I've been competing for the past 20 plus years in paratriathlon. So very familiar with all the Paralympic athletes today that we have. We have Haley Dance, silver medalist in the PTS2 category, Allysa Seely, the gold medalist in the PTS2 category. We also have Grace Norman, silver medalist in PTS5, and Kendall Gretsch in the PTWC category, gold medalist this year. So it's great to chat with you, and it really is kind of unique for me to be in a new role of kind of interviewing you guys and not being the one interviewed. Jarrod probably had the same sort of thing over the few years or whatever that he was kind of out of a lot of the professional competition. So but we have a few questions that we're going to call this the speed round, kind of where we just want quick answers, one word or short sentence, whatever comes off the top of your head, and we're going to kind of go in order. And then we have some individual questions that are a little more personalized for each athlete, and we're going to kind of go back and forth, Jarrod and I, asking the questions. So first off, I named my bike the Pain Train, and I was wanting to know, do any of you have a name for your bike? And if so, is there a really quick story or reason that you named the bike what you named it? So I'm going to let Jarrod kind of call you guys off and just quick hitters.
All right, so I'll just call you guys out. So if you all want to unmute yourself, we'll try and keep it quick. All right, Katie, you're up first.
I do not name my bikes, but Tommy does name my bikes for me because he thinks it's cool. So he did name my Tokyo bike Land of the Rising Soul. And it was a little bit to do with Tokyo and the make of the bike, but also because my dad passed away and kind of signifying that aspect as well.
Yeah, awesome. Kevin, you're up next.
I do not have a name for my bike. I'm sorry.
I didn't either. So, Taylor, you're next.
I don't either. Sorry.
All right, Haley.
Me neither.
Oh boy. All right, you guys have to come up with something. Kendall.
Yeah, same. I don't name my bike.
Grace.
No, I don't. No.
All right, and Allysa.
I don't normally name my bikes, but one of my friends named my Tokyo bike, and her name was Sriracha because she was red and quite spicy.
There you go. I like that one.
Nice.
Awesome. All right. Next question is, the football field size dining hall at the Olympic and Paralympic Village is always the talk of the town. What was your favorite food that you had in the village? All right, we'll start with Haley on this one.
All right, I'm going to go with the dark horse item here. The takoyaki, English translation, squid ball. There's this weird, like, savory dough filled with squid and mayonnaise. It was delicious.
Awesome. Kendall.
I'm going to go with the coconut pho. That was my favorite.
Nice.
All right, Grace.
I really liked I think it was pronounced karasa, I think. It's like they're like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like a naan, but not, and like way better. It was amazing.
Wow. This is awesome. This is some cool stuff so far. Allysa.
Yeah, I was gonna go with the paratha too, and it's like I found it to be like a combination between naan and tortilla, but it was amazing. But since Grace took that one, I'll go with the mango cake. It was pretty epic.
Katie.
I don't know what it's called, but they had this like spongy, moist cake that I would go to with like banana bread, and I ate it every single meal.
Kevin.
I was the same. Me and Katie, every time I think we were discussing, trying to figure out to describe it. Because it was in the gluten-free, like, weird section, but it was actually really, really good. But a late find was also the waffles, like, later on. I didn't eat breakfast there most days, but after the race I started to, and the waffles were definitely a go-to.
Nice. And Taylor.
Well, so I was going to say the paratha too, but then second frequency would have been pizza for me, which is very, like, simple, but I think I had it every single meal, except for breakfast.
Their pizza was really good though, so you're not going wrong.
Oh, that's awesome. I think one of the cool things at the village is that they're all, there are tons of different options in food, right? They're not just doing one thing. So I quite enjoyed that. We of course had McDonald's when we were there, which apparently they don't have anymore. So, that after the race, we just ordered a lot of stuff from McDonald's.
Nice. Some of those were a little bit inspiring for me to maybe. I like that coconut. What was it? The coconut
pho. It's like a noodle.
Wow, that sounds rather good.
That was
but I don't know. I don't know if I can even make that. I probably would make it very good. But anyways, the final question in this little speed round is that we know that they didn't have spectators or fans at the games. So did any of you guys bring a teddy bear photo or something else that made you kind of think about your fans, your family and friends and all that to make you feel supported, to maybe help with filling in that void that I think a lot of you guys probably felt?
All right, we'll start with Kevin on this one.
Yeah, I mean, USAT did this for all of us, which was pretty cool. They got letters from all, like, people from home, family, friends, just people you wouldn't even expect sometimes to hear from. So I got a lot of those. So that's what kind of every day I was kind of reading a lot of those. So it actually felt like I was connected and had people there. And I actually read my last 3 letters on the way to the race site. So my parents were on the bus, my sister was in the lounge, and actually my grandparents were just right before I was putting my suit on, waiting in line. I was actually finishing reading it. So I need to read them all. And so that one was the last one.
Well, it obviously helped you pretty well.
Yeah, it was pretty actually cool. I actually did draw upon those. So
that's amazing. Taylor.
Well, I'd have to say the letters too. Otherwise, nothing really interesting.
Katie.
Yeah, I would say the letters and the photos and all of that USAT put up. Although I don't know how you did that right before your race, because I was bawling when I was reading mine. So like.
Yeah, there were actually. Well, parents were actually like good enough that it wasn't too like emotional, but there were some days before that I'm glad I didn't read before, because not that you forget about people, but it reminds you of some people. You're like, whoa, and it kind of trips you backwards a bit and realizes a lot. It takes you way back. Yeah,
and I think that kind of shows the whole, it takes a village to get, a single athlete there. So
yeah.
All right, Allysa.
Since the letters have been covered, I was really lucky. One of my really close friends and somebody who's become a training partner over the years was actually working in the village. So we had dinner the night before the race. And so that was really special to not only have the letters, but have that individual for dinner and then a big hug before race day.
That's awesome. Grace.
Yeah, I got a lot of letters as well. Something that was really neat was my family was supposed to be here, obviously. So they had booked an Airbnb with a Japanese family, and they had to cancel, obviously, but that family came out on race day and had a massive sign saying like, "Good luck, Grace," and like Norman family, just to like, you know, because I had never met them. And so I didn't even get to see them, but someone had taken a picture and sent it to me and said, "You have fans everywhere." And then my family put it together. That was the people they were supposed to stay with. And so that was really neat to see that.
Wow. Kendall.
Yeah. So kind of the same thing. I had letters, but one of my friends that came and watched when I was competing in Pyeongchang at the Winter Games, she brought this like big poster that she had all my, yeah, and then so she like recreated that.
Oh. You should be fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, so she recreated it and had like a mini version of that poster, and so I had that up in my room the week of the race.
Wow, that's amazing. And Haley.
Yeah, I mean, the letters were amazing. I definitely, I got all that done just in one day because I echo Katie. It was a super emotional thing. But I think what was really cool for me was just, you know, walking around the USA building and realizing there were so many people there that I've just met over the last 5 years, being based at the training center. I've gotten to know so many athletes and staff. And so even just being in the village, it really felt like I was kind of surrounded by my people. Which was something that I wasn't really expecting.
That's awesome. Yeah, great. Well, thank you guys for doing our little speed round there. We'll kind of jump into some individual questions and open the floor for some outside questions too. First off, Katie, you're up. And this actually is a great question. You're going to love this because I did this during my career too. So what do you say to those people that may say having your spouse as a training partner or a coach is not a good idea? And then the second part of this question, which Aaron threw in there, which I love, is have you and Tommy ever ridden a tandem bike together? And if not, would you?
They actually call them divorce bikes. So
that was almost when we first started training together as well. It was really hard, but I think it was a really big. I think it just accelerated our marriage and made us have a stronger marriage because we really had to learn to communicate a lot better and more efficiently, and in the most like lows of lows, tiredness, hungriness, like times that you're just don't really want to talk to anybody, and having Tommy there, it like really forced us to kind of figure out ways to connect. And one of the ways is, I mean, he knows what he's talking about in triathlon, and he likes to share what he knows when he sees me doing something that he would like to change. And so before, he would just like tell me like, "Katie, like, have you ever thought about getting more aero?" or like something that in the moment I'm like trying to do or not ready to hear feedback on. And so it would really frustrate me. So now he has to say, "Can I give you some advice?" And I say no, or I say yes, or I say, "Just give me a minute." And so it works out better, but it was a steep learning curve. But I think it's only made me a better athlete. It's made me a better wife, and it's made me better able to like communicate and handle my emotions. And physically, training with Tommy has been one of the best things for me because he's definitely super strong and definitely stronger than me, and can also read me like a book with training. So like, rather than going off paces, he just kind of listens to my breathing, and he's enabled me to get a lot more out of myself than I probably would if I trained by myself or in like a more just like controlled, I guess, environment. So it is not easy. I think the tandem bike would still be a challenge for us. We may not be ready. We may not be ready for that. That's challenge.
That's the next level.
Yeah, we'll have to test it though to see. I mean, yeah.
Nice. So the next question is to Allysa. Allysa, I think many of us know that you went through a whirlwind journey to get to Tokyo, but you seem to always come through in the clutch. Is there anything that you would attribute to or that really helped you with developing really that talent or skill of really coming through in the clutch?
I've had a lot of practice, unfortunately. No, I think for me, a lot of it is finding the fun in the sport and loving what I do. And I love to race. And when you put me on a race course, like I just come alive. And no matter what the circumstances are leading into that race, if they've been good or they've been bad, just somebody else comes out and it's just so much fun. And I really think that's part of my ability to overcome some of these challenging circumstances and the lead up to the race and be able to go out there and show what was my best for that day.
Nice.
This question we are going to kind of pose to the group. But the mixed relay obviously debuted in Tokyo. We've been able to race them for quite some time on the lower stages of the sport, and I loved it. I had a lot of fun racing it, so I was really excited that it was going to be in the Olympics. And of course, you guys performed amazingly. And so the question that we have is, with the success of that. And other Paralympic sports have started to do some mixed relays. Is it time for paratriathlon to get a mixed relay? So we'd love to hear it on both sides. Both of you guys, the para athletes and the Olympic athletes, just talking about that a little bit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we've been ready for a few years now. And we talk about it at every race, I think. I had the opportunity to race mixed relay back in college, and still to this day, they are some of the most fun races because it's not just about you. You're racing for your team, you're racing for the other individuals, and you have all of that extra support. It's just incredible. So I'm ready.
Anyone else have their input on that?
I agree. I think it would be super cool event if they could figure out kind of how to get the right mix of all of our crazy classifications. But yeah, I think it would be super fun to do. And I think we're all up for another race. So it'd be fun.
Good. Yeah, I agree. I always think it's better to have more medal opportunities. Honestly, I'm kind of jealous of you guys because I feel like back in 2008 and 12 and 16, we probably would have had good chances of medaling in those years too. So I'm a bit jealous of the relay being involved after I kind of retired. So, but yeah, that was amazing, and hopefully we can expand that. So we'll start working on that with World Triathlon.
Yeah, for sure. So the next question again can be to a couple of you, or maybe we'll pick a few of the Paralympic athletes. You guys went to Kona before Tokyo for multiple reasons, kind of the acclimatized, similar temperature, not too far in terms of time zones. Was there any memory that you really remember most from that training camp, or anything that you took away directly from that training camp that you feel like you really utilized in your race? And Jarrod, maybe you pick two.
Yeah. Grace, why don't you start off with that?
I think it was just super important for us to be able to be in a place that was so deep in the history of triathlon. It was just really neat that like everyone was super supportive, and they were like, the hotel we stayed in was the Ironman host hotel. So just to see, pictures of the past Ironman winners, was really, inspirational every day. Being in the heat and humidity leading up into Tokyo was super important for us. And just being as a team, with like no outside distractions or other people, it was just really important. I think it really connected us as a team. And I took that into Tokyo, especially like not having family and friends, being able to be there for the race. It was really, really cool to feel that team connection leading into the race.
Great. Anything you want to add, Haley?
So I think from a practical standpoint, one of the big advantages there was the pool that we swam in was super hot. And so it made it so that we got to, the race venue in Tokyo, and water actually felt really comfortable, which, swimming in hot water is like, yeah, it's definitely a big variable in a race. And so being able to prep for that was really nice. But I think bigger picture, Hawaii was just kind of something that we all had to really look forward to. And, we kind of went into Tokyo knowing that it was going to be a really different experience. Obviously the last year and a half has been super challenging. We haven't really had the ability to travel and race and do that normal stuff. And so, I think we all just were really looking forward to that trip. And obviously like Hawaii, it's kind of hard to be stressed when you're there. It's just such a good chill energy. And yeah, being around the team and being able to share that, like Grace said, I think was really valuable for all of us.
Nice. Yeah, I've heard nothing bad about that trip yet. So this question actually is for Kevin and Haley. I know USA Triathlon has really been a proponent of inclusion of the para-triathlon and triathlon teams kind of togetherness and incorporating them both. And I think both of you guys have kind of developed a friendship just training at the OPTC. And is there anything that you feel like that you've learned from each other that you may have utilized in your training or racing that has kind of helped in your performance?
I can start. One thing is, so I made a coaching change and a big group change this year where I was actually training a lot more on my own. So when I came to Colorado Springs, I did all of March, April, and beginning of May here. They kind of took me in as part of their team, and that was really nice for me because I just like had this group setting, would show up like we swam at the same time. Sometimes we'd be in the gym at the same time, and I like while we weren't doing the exact thing, it was like still having that team element was huge for me. So it was actually really exciting, and then building this bond. And I think one thing that I took away from them that was like really cool, and I think we've started to as like on our side as well is the team aspect that they've got. They're all just good friends. They all hang out. They're all laughing. They're all get in and do the work, but then they also have fun and choose to hang out and stuff after. And seeing that and seeing how lively they were as a group was very inspiring in that way for me. Just to see all that and to see the success breeding, you could just see this energy just growing and growing as the games got closer. And it's pretty exciting because like I felt like I was a part of it, even though like I wasn't racing on the same time as them. I still felt like we had similar build-up, similar excitement, similar goals. My qualifiers were just before them, and so they were just as excited when I made a team, and I was following along. They were just excited when I was just excited when they all made the team, and so it was just a fun like team atmosphere to feel like one team. And even then, when they were over in Tokyo, like I met Kendall and Haley when I got back days before to like give them just the insights of what I learned over there, intel stuff, different things. I guess I didn't give them enough time telling them how hard the beds were. That was a Haley complaint. Sorry about that. I did tell you to bring an extra pillow, but you didn't listen to me on that one.
I know, it's true.
But no, and then it was just fun watching them and stuff. So that's
nice. And Haley.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the day that the Olympic team was announced and Kevin's name was on there. Man, that was probably like one of the happiest moments of the entire quad for me. Because yeah, we had developed that friendship and that bond just from being in the trenches together day after day. I think, yeah, that little debrief session after Tokyo was awesome just to kind of get some of that intel. he didn't necessarily warn me enough about the beds, but, you know, did let me know about the dining hall situation and the plexiglass and how you really needed to like talk loudly if you wanted to be heard. So I felt very prepared going into that. But yeah, I think like, you know, I think it's so important to be able to just find joy in the process. And Kevin just brought a lot of joy to our group. And yeah, just like the days that I knew that he was going to be at the pool, like it made me just a little bit more excited to go swim. So, yeah, just like having him kind of like part of the group has been really awesome. And I'm hoping that can continue, and hopefully bring even more into the fold.
Nice. I love the inclusion. Definitely. It's awesome to have both together.
Totally.
Yeah, I agree. When I started racing, you know, there weren't really any of the para races, and they slowly started being added to the WTS schedule, and it was really cool to, you know, to meet and talk with other athletes, right? Like, you know, I've always found that to be a really, really cool thing, to meet and talk with other athletes from triathlon and other sports about their experiences. So, all right, Kevin, we're gonna go to you. So you now have the prestigious sixth place finish at the Olympic, which is the highest USA male finish ever. Congratulations on that. And would you say there's anything that you feel changed in your training, or, you know, anything that you changed? I know you made a coaching change, a group change kind of leading into this year, but, you know, do you think that played a significant factor in that? You know, what were your kind of the key moments leading up to your race this year?
Yeah, you know, I think that change was a pivotal point for me. I think that's what changed a lot of things for me, just from my entire outlook. And so I think that's one thing. While COVID was a terrible time in 2020, I think I learned a lot about myself and what I needed, and did some big thinking. And so I did make that change. I was risky and I was really nervous doing it, but boy, am I glad I did, because it gave me a whole perception of a lot more was out there. I had a much better relationship with my new coach. I was just having fun with it again. And I got back to the simple things and kind of like that young Kevin mindset, and not being so stressed about these results and forcing stuff, and also just like going out and simply racing. Like I've said this a couple of times in different things, and it's like the mentality that like Katie and a lot of those other athletes have had when they came over to the sport. They didn't know all what every athlete was and who they were, but that's something, because I've grown up in it. I knew all these big names. So I was racing these big names and already selling myself short. And this was the first year where I was really not afraid of like, oh, that's Vincent Louis, that's Mario Mola, that's Javier Gomez. It's like, it took me a little bit still in Yokohama to like, when I was running in that pack, to understand like, okay, it's okay to run with these people, and don't be afraid, just like go with it. You can be good enough. So then in Tokyo, I felt like I made that next step, because I did have one regret when a move happened in Yokohama. I didn't back myself enough to go with it, because I was just afraid I was going to blow up. So this time I did make a move when it surged, and I think that's what established me into that like top 6 at range. So I'm excited for what's ahead with that, and that mentality that I started to gain.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think sometimes kind of going back to the roots, right? And just enjoying the sport, enjoying the pieces of it, can just change your outlook on racing.
Yeah, definitely.
We want to open it up to any of the other questions from either the USOC or the World Triathlon.
Sure. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm Peggy. I write for teamusa.org, and congrats to all you guys. You've had a great year. So my question is, and I'm hoping each one of you, maybe in the same kind of fashion you've been doing, can answer it. What has led to this medal haul that you guys had this year in Tokyo at the Olympics and the Paralympic Games? Could each one of you run through and maybe give me a sentence or two, and maybe hopefully it's something different for each of you?
Yeah, I can call them out. Here, Taylor, we'll start with you.
Well, I think I'm not sure about other programs, but I feel like we have such diverse backgrounds in which everyone's kind of how they've come to triathlon has been different. And I feel like that's almost the strength, in that like realizing that some differences like within our past and development as athletes and humans can actually be strengths when you bring everyone together and then put them on the race course. And some people, like, depending on how the race plays out or depending on which race you're doing, it's like, I feel like everyone here has a completely different story, and it almost makes us stronger. And it's not like, oh, you have to have done X, Y, and Z in order to get here. It's kind of like, okay, great. Here you are. Now let's try to make you better.
Let's go to Grace next.
Something for me that stood out in my own journey to this race, and then just looking at all the other athletes, is adaptability. We had to adapt to a lot of different circumstances during the COVID year, and then going into these games were very different than previous games. And so I think just having that ability to adapt as humans, but also as triathletes, we can't control everything in a normal day anyways. And so just being able to adapt what we need to on race day.
Allysa.
I think excellence breeds excellence, and USA Triathlon, we've set the bar very high, and seeing our teammates compete at such high levels, seeing Kevin become the top finishing male for the US, seeing Katie finish with a medal and on the podium, seeing the mixed team relay. I think for me, I wanted to go into the games and I wanted to continue that story. And I think that happens every day in training when we're, training next to each other and beside each other. And it happens on the race course naturally after, we've seen it for so long. We just want to keep stepping up that boundary and setting the bar higher and higher for the rest of the world.
Kendall?
Yeah, I think for me, the big thing that stood out was just the sense of a team that we had. A couple people have mentioned this earlier in the call, but during my race, that was hearing my teammates cheering and the staff cheering. That was so motivating for me and brought me so much joy during the race. Just hearing my teammates just going absolutely crazy every single time going through transition. And that was 8 times. And so that I think probably added up to a few seconds for sure. And I needed every second for my race. So the team is kind of incredible.
Haley.
Yeah, on the Paralympic side, I think it is important to remember that we're still so new. And so the growth that we achieved this quad, I think, was huge compared to Rio. Just the level of support that we received from USAT, I think made a really big difference. We also, this quad had the ability to, we had the resident team, and that was something that was brand new, just bringing para-triathletes together and giving them a chance to train in a squad environment. Prior to that, most of us were training on our own. And this was really the first time that we kind of were able to have that team, that squad, that training environment. And I think it was a really successful program. And I don't know if our medal haul would have been possible without
it. Kevin?
Yeah, I'll kind of piggyback off that team atmosphere. I mean, for us too, I feel like we really were one team over there. We chose to eat dinner together every night. We always met downstairs at 5:30, walked over. I mean, athletes and staff, in training sessions, we always coordinated each other. No one was well, I want to go at this time and do this. It was what do we think as a team? And we'd all chip in and have our input. That's great. We're all going to go over to the training site at this point. And then we were matching up doing swims together. One day it's hey, Katie, what are you doing? And we were swimming in the same lane doing this, or Taylor or Morgan. And I feel that team camaraderie or summer, any of us were just we chose to be together and hang out. And I feel that vibe really just carried us through the entire games. It's just one team atmosphere and just excited for each other and cheering on. And it was fun to watch each race going on while we were there. So.
And Katie.
So I feel like it would just be a mix of what everybody else has already said. But yeah, just having the support to be a team and really believe in one another. And like Kevin was saying, just enjoying each other's presence. So it made the Olympics we knew how meaningful it was, but at the same time, we had fun with it. We tried to help each other prepare, I think, for each of the races and make sure everyone was in the right mindset, believed in themselves, then helped each of us like believe in ourselves. So I just felt like, yeah, we really fed off of each other in a really positive way. And I think also just having USA Triathlon support from at the Olympics, but prior to the Olympics, so that we also knew that USAT was confident in us and would help support us as a team, but also really help us get to the Olympics in our individual ways that Taylor was talking about. We all can be in whatever place or environment is the best for us. And I think that's something that's really special.
Hey, sorry, can I add one more thing that I think is really important that hasn't been mentioned? On the para side, I think it's very important to recognize how much time and effort USA Triathlon has put in to make sure that we have available resources, just like the Olympic side. In the past, in all para sports, that hasn't been, those resources haven't been available and haven't been there. And so having the opportunity to make sure we have all of the necessary resources to accomplish our goals in this past quad, I think has absolutely helped lead to the growth of the program. And so I'm very thankful for USA Triathlon stepping up and kind of making that first jump into the water of making the para and the Olympic side equal.
Thank you. That was awesome.
Sweet. Any other questions from other media?
Yes, I actually had a question for Kendall. Kendall, this is Alex Abrams with TeamUSA.org. You talked about, after your race about how you've been training for such a close race and the ability to come back like you did. Can you just kind of talk about what kind of training did you do and how specifically did that prepare you to make the comeback you did on Parker like that?
Yeah. So for those that aren't familiar, the wheelchair class is broken into 2 subcategories. So we have a staggered start and I start in the second group. So I kind of know ahead of my race that I'm starting 4 minutes back and I have to make that up progressively throughout the race. And so, yeah, just kind of leading into this race at our times and kind of just like how I had been training and racing it, but I just had this feeling that like we were going to be really close and knew that, it wasn't going to be, hopefully it wasn't going to be a blowout either way and that it could be a really tight race. And so, so I trained for the potential of a sprint finish like that or being able to have another gear on the run. And so yeah, it came in a couple of different components. I think my strength training, our strength coach, he knew that and that I wanted to have that ability to have another gear. So we changed around my strength program. And then a lot of my runs were all about focus on gear changes and being able to have kind of an all-out sprint at the very end of a hard effort. So it was something that like the entire team, my coaching team knew about and knew that this was a possibility. And so, it definitely made that ending kind of pretty special because when something plays out how you think it's going to, and then you can kind of see like, yeah, we knew this was a possibility. We prepared for it and it worked. So, it was awesome.
And then just as a quick follow-up, if you don't mind, you ended up becoming, I think it was the 5th, Paralympian to win, gold in, summer and winter. Then Oksana, your, teammate, she then did that. Was that something that you two discussed, during the winter or at any point that the fact that you two, could be making history together, so to speak?
I don't know if we talked about it specifically, but I think, I have so much respect for Oksana as an athlete. She just kind of has this intensity and mentality around her. And so being around her for the winter season, I think it kind of just like elevates everyone's expectations of what they can get out of themselves. And so, I kind of knew like that was something that was possible for her. And so why couldn't it be possible for me? You kind of just, maybe more silently than directly talking about it, but just raising the bar for each other.
Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah, hi. This is Barry. I have a quick question. I have to exit my doctor's office. So anyway, Katie, this is really for you because you were there in Rio in 2016 and again in Tokyo in 2020, which is 2021, which is just awesome. The camaraderie of the team is something I was always sensitive to over my years at USAT. And it seemed like the camaraderie that Kevin spoke to was so much better this year. Can you compare and contrast that a little bit? What do you think contributed to how well the team worked together?
I mean, I think part of it is having the mixed team relay, but I think another piece of it was in Rio, we were all in a hotel and we had like the different, like all had different rooms with our support, like whether that was like Tommy for me or like people just had their significant others right there. And so I think for Tokyo, it was like me, Summer, and Taylor were all sharing like the apartment together. So at night we would just sit out and watch like the like the other events that are going on all together. And we would all like get together for our meals to walk over to the village. And I'm not 1,000% sure like what made it so much different. I think for me, it was my experience in Rio, just in like my perspective of the games and everything. I really wanted to make sure that I did it right in Tokyo. And part of that was enjoying the whole experience of being at the Olympics and not so tunnel visioned onto the individual race that I missed out on enjoying the people around me and the Olympic atmosphere that was around me. So I feel like by doing that, it was intentional to really take in everybody who I was with and just go off their vibes and really just enjoy being with a really special group of people. So, and I think just by the fact that we were doing, like Kevin was saying, like training together, going to eat together. And by the time the mixed team relay came around, it was really fun because like for Taylor and Morgan, they were probably the two that I didn't know quite as well leading into the games. Like, of course I know them, but I haven't hung out with them as much. And it was just so fun getting to know them on a completely deeper and I guess more intimate level.
Very good. I've got to go, but I just want to congratulate all of you. And as a fan and obviously a strong supporter of USA Triathlon, you were just such great representatives, each and every one of you. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Congratulate you all. Thank you.
Nice. Should we move on to the fun ones, Jarrod?
Yeah.
I got one here for Haley. I know you have a unique and relationship and friendship with Howie Sanborn, sometimes going back and forth on social media at each other even. He's a resident training partner with you. Was there any bets or challenges that were on in Tokyo that you or him maybe had to live up to?
Yeah. We definitely have a weird relationship. Our banter is kind of next level. Most people think that we hate each other. It's kind of more like a brother-sister relationship where like we pretend to hate each other, but are actually very close. So he and I often ride or have similar bike times. And so we'll often place bets going into races about who's going to have the better time. I actually think he still owes me dinner from the last time we raced. So should probably put that on the record that he owes me. We didn't have any bets surrounding Tokyo per se. But Howie's kind of like always coming up with bits at my expense and at other teammates' expense. And so I wouldn't be surprised if he found the worst picture of me from the games and like paid someone to have it put on a billboard. Like I should probably be prepared for something like that to happen.
Nice that you say that, because I was actually thinking, I was wondering if there was a bet that there was going to be a shirt with one of your faces on it that he or you had to wear, because we know that he's done that with Kendall.
Yeah, honestly, Kendall's usually the one that he likes to put on shirts. Somehow I've been able to avoid that honor. But again, he's unpredictable. So we should probably be prepared for anything.
Nice.
All right, Taylor, you're up next. So since Tokyo, you've had a pretty amazing run of races. The second place at your at Boulder, 70.3, then second at Montreal, and then completely dominating Edmonton Grand Final, and then completely dominating your matchup at the Collins Cup, which just I know how good you are, but that still absolutely blew my mind that you just dominated two of the best women in the sport. And then you got the MVP. So, I want you to talk a little bit about your strength on the bike, which I know a little bit about because we trained together a bunch of years ago and you were probably a better cyclist than me at that point anyways. So tell us how you capitalize on your bike skills, kind of regardless of distance and format, and the fact that you're continuing to use your road bike. And I'm going to throw a quote out there that Holly Lawrence said, somebody should get her a TT bike before the Collins Cup. And yeah, well, you dominated it.
Well, so I just want to put out there that like the race schedule going into like probably August 1st was not what it ended up being, like August 29th. It was very much one race at a time, and I didn't want to change anything before the race. So that was, but I think like at the same time, there should be something taken into context, which like I'm disappointed with my individual race in Tokyo. So I'm not sure if that's all like anger fueled for the like next 5 weeks. But I'm trying to learn as much as I can from every single experience and take it on to the next, and we'll see what happens. But I'm trying to learn as I go and experiment a lot. So I wouldn't recommend the schedule to anyone else.
Yeah, that's a massive schedule. And my follow-up question on it is, have you gotten a TT bike yet, or are you just sticking with the road bike for now?
Not yet. I love the road bike. So it's also, everything's like kind of in preparation for the next race. So it just works out well if I have one bike right now.
Right. Perfect. Thank you. All right, Grace. So you've been successful in both para and non-para arenas, running in college, as well as being now a two-time medalist in para triathlon. Does your success at one or the other bring you more satisfaction or feeling of accomplishment?
For me, it's like I grew up just racing against able-bodied people. So I didn't even really know there was any such thing as para until I heard the Paralympics. And then I went and watched the 2012 Olympic trials and Paralympic trials, and realized that it could be a dream of mine. And so for me, a race is a race. I was born extremely competitive. And so I am very happy and blessed that I could span both categories, in able-bodied and para. I think para has given me so much experience and opportunities to be able to race at the highest level. I really, really enjoyed racing in high school and college and being on varsity and doing very well at my collegiate level. I think they both have helped play with each other as far as experience and just racing in general. So I'm kind of sad to see that, my college days are kind of behind me as far as racing but that doesn't mean I won't continue to race in the able-bodied field and continue to, bridge the gap between para and able.
Great. Thank you.
Nice. The next question is to Kendall. I get a little excited about this question because I just, seriously, every single time I watch the finish, your race finish, it's just amazing. And your race finish may go down in history as one of the most historic race finishes in triathlon history. Actually, right after the race, I texted Rocky Harris, CEO of USA Triathlon, and said, if that doesn't win her an SB, I don't know what can win an SB. What is your most memorable moment, kind of both during the race? I know during the race you're focused on your race, but sometimes you really kind of have a moment or a turning point of you really, where you maybe really felt you could get her before the finish. And then what was your most memorable moment following the race?
I think the as soon as I guess I was kind of terrified going into this race that I was just going to like not have the day that I knew I was capable of. And as soon as I got onto the bike, I knew that like it was going to be a good day. I was feeling really great. And so every single lap when I was gaining the time that I needed to, I was just like, it was just so fun. Like I have not experienced so much joy in a race than I did that day. And so I think for me, I guess it's not really a moment, but like being able to have so much fun. And I like even told myself at one point during the race that like I didn't know if I was going to be able to catch her. But I was just like, this is just so cool. Like, regardless of how it finishes, if I get first, if I get second, like, this is just a cool race and it's going to be a cool moment. And so, yeah, I think being able to recognize that like during the race made it so much more fun. And yeah, I think after the race, like just being able to celebrate and be there with my teammates and coaches and everyone that was there and FaceTime my family and like they're going crazy. And yeah, I think that was special, just being able to share this one moment. I think racing for me a lot of times feels like really selfish. It's just yourself. But on that day it didn't. It was like everyone that has been a part of my journey was there to celebrate with me. So that was just really cool and special.
Nice.
Great. So that's kind of all the questions that we had individually for you guys. But basically the last thing, we have a couple more minutes. So if any of you want to throw out any kind of Tokyo memories, so just, cool things that happened, things that you'll remember most from it, we'd be happy to just hear a couple of those quickly. So we'll just kind of leave it open. I'm not going to call anybody out. So if anybody wants to jump in, just go for it.
For me, the biggest thing that I'll take away from Tokyo was this year was really hard for me with my dad passing away. And what made it the most special was being able to achieve medals with that, knowing that it was the triathlon community that picked me back up again and was there like at the most low moments that I've ever had. And it made it that much sweeter just to know how much like no one cared before the medals. Like it was the support fully, and like people just at the finishes of like some of my worst races of my career, just being there being able to hold me and pick me back up and tell me everything would be okay, and just be there. And I think that was the like thing that I took away from this Olympics the most, was just the community of people that we're really, really lucky to be surrounded by, from the triathletes and competitors themselves to like race officials, USAT, the coaches of the other federations, the coaches of the athletes of the other countries. And I just thought that was like the most amazing part of Tokyo for me.
Thanks, Katie. Anybody else?
If we don't have anyone else, I definitely want to congratulate Grace on her engagement. Probably many of you know Grace got engaged this last week.
Thank you so much. Yeah, sorry if you can hear my fiance now is recording for a trumpet, so he's working on that. But yeah, it's been a whirlwind of a week having to, I got home, had to move out of my apartment in South Bend and then moved down to Florida during the moving process. He proposed. And yeah, I'm excited for a life with him. So yeah, thank you for the congrats.
No problem.
Great. Well, thank you guys all for coming on and congratulations. It was pretty inspiring to watch everybody do so well in Tokyo. The races were all amazing. And it was was definitely cool to sit back and watch the races for me this time, and instead of thinking about competing in them. So I quite enjoyed watching everything, and watching triathlon, watching USA Triathlon perform at such an amazing level. So
yeah, thanks for all joining us. It was great to hear all your stories.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Thomas, do you want to add anything else?
No, just appreciate everybody jumping on and taking the time to do it.
Awesome. All right. Well, you all have a great day, and thanks a lot. And we'll see you around at some of the races.